got your cup of joe and filled up your morning with good things to know. Good morning, good morning. Thanks for saying hi. Together we make a difference. Be sure to come back by. Good morning, good morning. Thanks for saying hi. Together we make a difference. Be sure to come back by. Your cup of joe and filled up your morning with good things to know. Good morning, thanks for saying hi. Together we make a difference. Be sure to come back by.
To the stage. Oh, there we go. Salty, you were up there all by yourself.
I was about to say, I looked down because your song ended abruptly. I was like getting into the groove, and I looked down. I was like, "Oh no, he was portaled away at the last minute."
Been spending too much time around Lori in those portals.
I'm saying, dude, we're like today's detox day, but then again, it's not. It's like process day.
Yeah, no kidding, no kidding. Anyway, good morning, everybody. Welcome in.
Good morning, good morning, chat.
Good morning, Akasha, Pokemon, Trace on the case. It's been a minute or two since I've done a Morning Joe Schmoe show, and I miss them.
Yeah, it has, hasn't it?
Yeah, Lori like sucks the life out of everything around her.
Well, you've been doing pop-ins. I mean, we see you in the mornings popping in to, to say hi to us, but that's, and trolling your Twitter during the week.
Hey,
we're your own personal troll crew.
Well, I've been trying, and yesterday was like a huge day, right? Because the state rested, and then the defense rested without presenting any evidence, and the judge said, "Do you have any evidence present?" And she said, "Nope, we rest." And I had that on Twitter.
Judge.
I had that on Twitter before Justin Lum had it on Twitter. I had that on Twitter before Court TV had it on Twitter. I was there.
Right. Well, we appreciated it. We don't mind the spoiler alerts. We always look forward to them daily. So when there's a break, we're like, let's go troll Joe's Twitter. And so yeah, when you were like, go check the Twitter, everybody's like, go check, and yeah. But that wasn't a surprise. But at the same time, it was kind of like, damn, Lori, our defense rest, no witnesses, I got nothing.
Yeah, you got to wonder what the jury was thinking, right? Like,
well, they had heard the discrepancies about her subpoena and the subpoenas that allegedly did or didn't go to her witnesses being sent to the wrong people. So I don't think they were surprised that she didn't have a lot of witnesses, because they probably already gathered she didn't know what she was doing.
Well, but they don't get to hear that stuff about
That's
the
right. They didn't hear that part. They weren't in the room for that discussion, were they? Well, how much really could you do to dispute what you haven't already said?
There are things you could bring in. Like if I were her trial attorney, there's definitely some evidence I brought in there.
Well, there's some things that could be brought in, but I don't know it would help her beat a conspiracy charge. You know what I mean? There's some minor things because she did make some good. She gave some good legal arguments a good run. You know what I mean? She just didn't know quite how to land them. I don't think. You know.
No, she didn't. She never she like made some good inroads into making good arguments from time to time, but she never could land the plane ever. Like she
Well,
could
and
never
also,
land that argument.
you know, would they have went anywhere? You know how defense motions can be sometimes. Sometimes they're just throwing it against the wall to see if it'll work. And some of hers were just that standard. What I felt like were standard defense filings that she probably learned right out of the law book.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean,
Hey,
it wasn't like it was rocket science,
and then
you know.
Yeah. So, but speaking of those subpoenas, though, I have downloaded copies of 5 or 6. I think it's 5 subpoenas that she did actually attempt to execute, and I don't know if Court TV aired it when the judge told her that she had improperly served them, and Trina K objected to them and said that she had violated like the Victims Bill of Rights type of thing. Did you
Yeah,
guys
we
see that?
saw all that, but we watched it on Law and Crime because Court TV just had a tech issue day one with their audio, and we're like, nah, we're done. So we watched it straight from Law and Crime. I think one time we watched it through East Idaho News, but most of the time I stuck with Law and Crime. But yeah, we heard everything. We heard it all. You know, except, you know, when the juries didn't, even though the jurors weren't able to hear it. Now they would, during the jury questions and things like that, of course, it would mute, sidebars would mute. But other than that, we heard all the arguments in the open court.
Right. Trial TV Live. Hey there, welcome in. Good to see you in here. Yeah, Court TV. And what's funny is Court TV just stepped in that pretrial hearing and just said, "Hey, we're the man, we're the people, we're the ones who are going to handle the pool camera, and everybody else can just suck it." And I mean,
that's corporate Court TV talking, you know, and they got away with it. So I don't know how the courts decide which news media outlet will get the pool feed if there's you know, I don't know how they determine it, but I'm not.
Well, there can be a lottery because you can't just have Court TV show up in court and say, "We want to be the man," and then, "Oh, let's
I
have a lottery."
understand.
Magically
Yeah.
Court TV got it.
Yeah, I've
Oh,
never really put much thought into how they decide who gets the pool feed because honestly, I didn't care as long as somebody got it and everybody
right,
got it at that point for free and nobody had to pay or, you know, license. I don't really care how it gets out there. Just put it out there. In my personal opinion, but I know that Court TV is ran by a corporation and corporate America. What are you going to do? I don't fight
right.
corporate America. I ignore them.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pokemon, I have wavy hair today. It like varies from day to day. It's Arizona. It's dry. My
You've
hair
got the
does what
wavy
it does.
hair.
I don't know. She said I do.
Hey,
She's
it's like it is a little bit wavier. Maybe it's growing out a little bit. Like here in Florida, you get the humidity and you get the frizz going on, you know. And my kiddo, poor thing, he's got curly hair. It's kind of shoulder length, but on a frizzy day, I'm like, dude, we got to tame it, baby. No, yours looks fine. We're used to seeing you with a ball cap on too, so
right. And then just the other day, just like spontaneously, I'm like, you know what? My hair's fine. I'll just go out live without my hat. And people were like, "Hey, I think I like you better without the hat." So we're going with it for now. The hat will be back at some point in time.
oh
I
gee,
guarantee
yeah.
it.
Around my neck of the woods, most dudes you see have a hat on, so it's like to me, it's normal. A man with a beard, a hat, baseball, you know, Carhartt jackets, all that shit's normal.
And they're not all bridge guy. Imagine that.
No, gosh, no. Joe, you could have been bridge guy if you weren't careful enough.
Right. Dizzy, hey, welcome in, Dizzy. Good to see you in here.
Good to see you guys.
Oh man. So what we have in store today is the few handful of subpoenas that Lori was able to get executed, whether properly or improperly, we don't know. They're matters of court record, but she definitely did not subpoena everybody that was on her witness list.
No, she didn't.
So
Now, was
no,
that her failure or was it her investigator's failure? Like, you know what I'm
that's a
saying?
that's a good question. So when she apologized for accidentally subpoenaing Robert Bobby Vallow,
Yeah.
she said, I just signed a big stack of subpoenas and I didn't
And
check very.
and didn't she claim that she didn't mean to subpoena Larry either? You know, she just
Yes,
signed that big
correct.
stack of
Yes.
subpoenas. So can she
Yep.
now turn around and get herself for ineffective counsel?
She should. I would love to see that argument, her suing herself for ineffective counsel.
They'll be up there arguing with Lori versus Lori. Lady,
Yes.
you did not do a good job. I tried my best.
I've studied in the prison law books for 5 years. I'm so
They
qualified for
just
this.
they wouldn't let me talk. Yes, they did,
Uh,
Lori. The judge gave you lots of leeway, Miss Lori. He was a very patient man.
oh, look, Dr. Vonda Kay's in here. Shannon's in
Welcome
here.
in, Dr. Vonda. Always good
Brooklyn
to see you.
Hasola's in here. Look at all
Mm-hmm.
these friends we have in here. Good to see
We've had a
everybody in here.
Yeah, we've had a decent crowd watching the trial every day and watching you, and you come into the chat and chat with us, and when you're on breaks and in line, and like I said, trolling your Twitter for your updates, and then dropping your links so everybody can come over here at night and get the recaps. So they've hung right in there with us.
Good deal. I appreciate all the support, people.
Mm-hmm. And they have a lot to say. A lot of them have a lot of great thoughts on the case. They're seeing things for what they are. A lot of them have their thoughts on Lori as well. So it's been some interesting conversations for sure.
Yeah, we have a great community, don't we? Like
Hmm.
lots of
Yeah.
intelligent, respectful people, and you can't ask for more than that.
Oh yeah. It's been great.
Uh, so, hey,
And
Trial
supporting
TV,
the
good to have you
families.
in
Let me
here.
just say this: the way the community. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Joe, but the way the community has stepped up to support the family, right? Kay
Yep.
and Kresha and everybody, because Colby, Megan, because a lot of times with these cases, you don't always get to know the families a lot, right? And we get to know these families because they are on social media and they are active with us, and that's perfectly fine. They've got every right to do that, just like we do. The same with the Gonzalez family from Idaho. But the amount of support that they've been shown and the love, and the warm wishes and prayers, and everybody applauding Kay the day she was on the stand. I mean, it's just been great to
Yeah,
see them. Yeah,
we were
right.
just upset that we couldn't like stand up in the gallery and applaud.
We were doing it for you guys, okay? We were just letting it go. We were like, yes, ma'am. Get her, Kay. Can't match that energy, Lori. I don't care how hard you try. Nice, Dr. Vonda. Joe now has memberships, guys. You reached a milestone. So publicly, congratulations. I have congratulated you on my show, but I think this is the first time we've had the chance to be on panel together since then. So
I think so. Welcome,
mhm.
Dr. Vonda Kay. Thank you for becoming a member. I appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
And especially to Miss Shorty for
Right.
um, gifting the first 10 memberships after she became member number 1. That was
She
awesome.
is amazing. She just runs around supporting, you know, good people, and she's good people. I've been over there on her panel. She's been on mine, and she's one of my favorite people probably my favorite person on YouTube right now, besides me and
Yeah.
you and all my crew, all
She
of our
has such
community.
positive energy though. She's just like,
She has
we're all
positive
bringing
energy.
everybody.
She can bring good conversation, and she's not afraid of conversation. And I love that about her.
Low Light, welcome in. Good to see you in here. We haven't got to any real hardcore content yet, but we're about to.
Oh, yeah.
We're about to check out these subpoenas.
Gosh, it was kind of nice getting that break this morning, wasn't it, Joe? Not
Oh, it
being.
was. Okay, so background story behind what's going on today. So at the end of trial yesterday, the state rested, and then the judge says, okay, defense, do you have anything to present evidentiary wise, whether it's through evidence, exhibits, or through testimony of either witnesses or yourself? She said, I need to confer with counsel. She conferred with counsel for a good 5 minutes, if not more than that. It might have been 10. I don't think it was 10, but then she filed the motion to dismiss based on the fact that the state hadn't presented enough evidence to convict. And then Dr. Vonda K, how generous. Thank you. I appreciate that. Somebody in here, somebody's in here just got gifted memberships. Hold on, I got to check that. So Jeff got one, Seeking Justice got one, Simi got one, Britt, and Hope. Welcome in, guys.
Very
Welcome
nice.
in. We're going to have some special member content. Like I'm thinking maybe Monday when I get to court for closing arguments, like when I get in the line, and I'm going to do that super, super early. Like I may spend the night on the courthouse steps. Probably not, but I need to be in there for that. So I may
Oh,
do a live
definitely.
from like
Well,
I may do a live for members from the courthouse steps.
There you go. Yeah, we'll definitely be watching closing arguments. I wonder how you think Lori will even have a closing argument, or is she going to try to drive home
Oh yeah.
that
Oh no. She had a
Jesus had
she
he was steering the ship here, not anybody else.
yeah.
So,
Well,
she
she had an
tried a couple
opening
of
argument.
times. Go ahead.
She had an opening argument, and I don't imagine her closing argument is going
Yeah,
to be
I'm just
much different.
wondering what her closing argument would be about. You know what I mean? How would
It's going to be
she?
about the state
Because,
not meeting their burden of proof. That's what it's going to
but
be about.
well, I get that, but I don't know how she's going to go about doing that. Right. And she also continued. See, part of her problem in Idaho with her attorneys is they discouraged her from bringing in the religion aspect. And she wanted that brought in because she wants the world to know all about the Nephi and the teachings and why she did what she did. She tried to bring that in here, especially when she kept saying, well, do you know this? Do you know that? Do you understand what the LDS teachings are? And I was like, I'm listening, girl. But it wasn't going anywhere with her, right? And I don't know. I'm very curious to see where she goes with that, because they're blaming her wacko religious beliefs as the reason she wanted to conspire to kill her husband, not just for the money. Although money is going to
They
be the factor that gets you
well,
convicted, right?
money and sex. They spent a lot of time
Oh, I
yesterday
know.
delving into that disgusting relationship between her and Chad and text
I had to
messages
hear it
that
all during the first Idaho trial. Yeah,
it
that's
was
why I got sick.
disgusting.
That's what I've told you. That it seemed like the whole world was on fire about their loin fire, about their sex and their money, when that was literally just all bonuses. Okay. It was never just about sex and money for Lori and Chad. If that's all this was ever about was money, they wouldn't be over there forming a cult and doing portals and meetings and preparing and writing books about it and all
And
the
casting
things.
out and zombies
Mhm.
and dark and light and all that. Yeah, I
Exactly.
agree. I just don't think that the state necessarily delved into that as deeply as they could
They
have in
don't want
this
to.
case.
Well, it's
Yeah.
hard to prove that religion's that funny thing, right? It's like taking parents to court to make them get their children medical care when their religion tells them not to. It's easier to convict her on these conspiracy charges when you show the money at stake. And she was getting a lot of, let's not get it wrong, she was raking in the money. She absolutely committed fraud, right? And she benefited. And she didn't report when those kids were gone. And she didn't, none of that. She's absolutely guilty of all of that. But that was just added bonuses to what they were already doing.
Right.
It's just easier to convict on going that route. Do you know what I mean? By showcasing that as a
Yeah.
motive.
Jeff.
I ain't no telling what Jeff said today.
It's the princess and the chud. This story is the princess, and princess is probably too kind.
Yeah,
But,
isn't it?
yeah.
I don't even think Wicked Witch of the West deserves that label. I mean,
oh man, I've been on a little bit of an emotional roller coaster ride on this. Like that's, I think, part of the difference between attending in person and trial watching on YouTube or whatever channel you decide to watch it on is that you become more invested in it if you're there for more than a day. Like if you're there for a day, you're just kind of like a spectator. And I'm not taking away from the people that can only go for a day, but if you're there every single day, day in and day out, and you see some of the same people day in and day out, Trace and Lauren and Nate Eaton and Kay and Megan, I mean, all the people that are in it every single day, you become more emotionally invested. Like we're all emotionally invested in it. And we all want to see justice for JJ and Tylee and Charles. But it's just like more, I guess it's more exhausting when you see.
yeah, I would say it would be more
Lori's
exhausting because we see it. I mean, we see it. We're very familiar with them. We feel it, you know, just not being in the room is, I understand, is different, but it would probably just be more draining to me.
Exactly.
Some of those
Yes.
people I wouldn't want to be around for with a 10-foot pole, but others, you know, not like none of the ones you just talked about, of course, but yeah, I mean, because they put themselves out there. We were able to see them and get their feelings. And I really enjoyed Crush's interview with her mom, Kay, the other night. That was a great interview. So, I mean, it would probably just be more draining than, because people feel for them a lot. You know, they really, really do.
Yep.
They have a lot of compassion for them.
Yeah, and before I ever went to trial, when I was just doing the co-op with Kresha about the Glenn Pace memo and ritualistic abuse in the Mormon Church, she brought JJ to life for me. Like she shared videos, she shared pictures, and JJ came to life for me and his and yeah, it just, I was feeling that before I ever went to trial. So absolutely
When you follow a case long term, and there are families who are out there who keep their loved ones' names alive, and they put out videos and they put this or that out, you can paint a picture of that victim, right? And you personalize them. And not a lot of people in true crime do that with victims because they're so focused on the defendant. I try to do it. I've made numerous videos on the Idaho 4 victims, like on their birthdays, different things of that nature, because they need to be remembered. Without victims, we wouldn't even be at a trial.
Right.
So I'm always going to be a victim advocate, no matter what.
Hey, True Crime Tracy, good to see you in here. I did get a little bit of sleep last night, probably a good 4 or 5 hours, which is enough for me. But it was even more resting for me to just finally make the decision not to go to court today, because backstory behind why I'm not down at the courthouse today. When I was riding the elevator down to leave court yesterday, I was with the head of security for the courthouse and basically his first assistant. And I said, hey, is the jury, what is the word that's escaping my mind that they're doing today? The jury instructions. They're finalizing the jury instructions. Is that open to the public? And he said, according to Judge Boreski, no public will be allowed in to see that tomorrow. So I was like, okay. And there is a possibility that he was just bullshitting me. Like he was just saying, I don't want to deal with a bunch of public tomorrow. I've been dealing with a bunch of public for like the last 2 weeks, and y'all are a bunch of idiots. He's basically said that out loud. So I'm like, okay, fine. And then I asked a couple of other people, and somebody else confirmed that, and somebody else said, well, I don't really know. Like Gigi didn't know, hadn't heard that. So I went home and I briefly toyed with the idea, like, okay, I'm just going to go down and test the waters, but it's jury instructions. It's
Yeah.
like one of the most boring things that takes place in court.
I I wouldn't have went for it personally. I knew there
Yeah.
was gonna be nothing to stream today about even if they had done that, I don't even know that I'd have streamed it because it's standard jury instructions, you know? So, yeah,
Right.
you're better off to take your day, get your rest, and be ready for Monday, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot
We
happening in
all
true
we all
crime,
needed.
leaving the yeah, and I mean, I've shit, been streaming Lori's trial. I've streamed Karen Reed hearings in between Lori's trial. I've streamed Koberger's hearing in between. It's been busy. I've had all this Delphi discovery dump falling in my lap at the same time, and I'm like, ah. So yeah.
And I'm so far behind on Delphi now. I mean,
Oh,
oh my God, I
I'm putting
saw.
together something. I'm making a video, and I had to take a break from it. I'll be back at it here in a little while, and then I'm gonna put together
Like,
I'm putting together something to make it easy to
how are
find
you
all
going
of
to
it.
help people catch up that are like two or 3 weeks behind now? Like, I feel like I'm in
But
quicksand
you
up
know
to my neck
me,
right now in Delphi.
I can do it.
All right.
I just gotta decide if I'm gonna do it tonight or tomorrow. I haven't decided yet. There's nobody home but me this weekend, so, um, I might get bored tonight and decide to go live. We'll see.
All right. Stay tuned. Everybody stay tuned.
Mhm.
Um,
I don't know what
can
I'm doing. I honestly don't yet.
can I have one of the mods please drop in Salty's link to her channel, and then also Crash Difficult Research? Can we get those in there, pretty please?
I'm probably gonna get a good nap in this afternoon, then I probably will go live.
Oh God, that sounds good. I need me a nap
Oh, I'm
already.
do yeah, I do what I want around here. Unless I'm streaming a trial, then I stay awake, but of course, but yeah, after Lori's trial, it's time for dinner, and then guess what happens? I make my old lady ass way to the bed. I get on my massaged heating pad, and like I'm gonna rest for a few minutes, right? Oh no, no, no. I fall asleep instead. And then I'm like, dang it. Then I wake up, I start catching the live in time, and then I don't know, somewhere about halfway through, I'm gone again. I'm like, man, I have to stay off the bed. I can't lay on the bed if I want to listen to something because this I'm done if I do that.
Yeah, I have not been able to take any naps in court, surprisingly.
Come on, you haven't not even one time you haven't nodded off.
Not one time. I tell you what, that fingerprint expert almost took me there though.
Oh my God, right? I felt myself drifting a couple of times. I'm like, no, somebody in chat say something so I can talk back to you guys.
Yeah. I mean,
We're
like,
all
she was
sitting there
super smart.
listening, you know?
Yeah, she
Yeah.
was super smart, but she went into way too much detail about her processes and procedures and
Well, you know
practices.
what? Get used to that with hearing with trials. And like I was, you know what? You got in Idaho, you got 4 different victims to work through, 4 different autopsies to work through. You're gonna have crime scene questions about each victim. You got Ann Taylor wanting their training records very early on in this case from the CSI people. Make sure they know what they're doing. They have to sit there and explain in detail how they know what they're doing. You know what I mean? And it's tedious shit for a lot of us because we know, but like some general public have no clue. That's like trying to hear from a good firearms expert. We want the good experts that aren't boring, right? But a lot of people don't. I was actually listening to the firearms expert really closely in Lori's case, trying to get some takeaways for other cases.
Yeah. All right, let's start going through these documents. So these are not new documents. When we get to the subpoenas, I have not seen anybody else present the subpoenas. They're available on the e-access website, which you have to pay for a subscription to. So a lot of people don't go on that. They just go to the publicly available minute entries, and I have all of the minute entries for every single day of court. But so this isn't new stuff, but I just want to recap what we have been through in the trial so far. So this is back on in the middle of March. The state filed their final trial management conference statement where they went through their witnesses they were expecting. And we heard from Daniel Coons. We heard last from Detective Nathan Duncan. We heard from, let's get both of those. We heard from both of those. We did not hear from Jason Hunsaker. We thought he was going to be one of the last three witnesses. We did hear from Robert Krautheim and William McDonald. We did not hear from Nathan Moffat. Oh, I've been spelling that wrong. I've been spelling it with an E. Now I know better.
Yeah, they nixed their last two witnesses, huh?
Yeah, they did. We did hear from Ariel and The Wiz and Cassandra. We heard from Captain Kent Keller and Scott Cowden. Scott Cowden was the person that did the CPR on Charles, attempted CPR on Charles. We heard from Jeff Moberg. We heard from the ME, Dr. Derek Bumgarner, who is a lot younger than I pictured he would be.
Mm-hmm.
We heard from Mark Sari, who was with the Social Security Fraud Division. And through him, we learned about where Alex's address was, because when Lori submitted applications for death benefits, she put down Alex's address in Santan Valley. So we have that. And then we heard from Christina. We heard from Adam. We heard a lot from Nancy Jo. We heard from Serena, and we heard a lot from Kay Woodcock.
Boy, Nancy, Jo, and Kay.
Yep.
Cheers, ladies. Cheers. I love the way that, you know how Lori would say, present a question, and then they would answer, and she would have a comeback remark, and she got in trouble a few times for having her little remarks like, oh, I bet you did, or it was a couple of times she did this kind of thing. But then Nancy Jo got right back up there and just channeled that shit right back at her, and so did Kay. And I thought that was great. And Lori didn't object. She's like, she could have, but she didn't. I don't think she knew to. But
No.
she's, or she thought, well, I did it. I guess they can do it. You know what I mean? I don't know. But I love that they did that right back at her. And there was no one there to object. So.
Right? Because if Lori can do it, I'm going to do it too, said Nancy Jo and Kay both. They're like, I'll throw a little extra in there. No, I didn't see direct evidence, but I saw plenty of evidence.
Yep. But I saw plenty of evidence that did. I was like, oh, heck. Kay. All that held up aggression is fixing to come out.
Yep. All right. So then this is the defendant's, this is back in the beginning of March, the defendant's supplemental notice of her defenses and disclosure. She's going to present her defense on A, the insufficiency of the state's evidence, B, self-defense, C, defense of others, D, third party at fault, which are actually, D is in conflict with C and B, E, mere presence, and F, procedural. Actually, I think the only argument she has left is A, and she didn't make that bold, so she doesn't think it's that important. That's probably her best argument, is the insufficiency of the state's evidence. Self-defense doesn't work. If you're laying down flat and you get shot in the abdomen and that bullet comes out your left shoulder blade after you've already been shot through the heart, that does not seem like a self-defense shot to me.
Self-defense is more than one shot. Is that self-defense at all?
Right. Exactly. Well, one of this, the first firearms expert, not the second one, did testify that you fire until the threat is eliminated. How it could be one shot, it could be multiple shots. But if the dude is laying on his back after he's been shot through the heart, is the threat not eliminated at that point?
Well, also, that's very speculative for that man to say, because I think that's an individual choice.
Right.
You shoot once, if the person goes down or they're incapacitated to some point, they can't get to you. Is that enough to get away?
Right.
You don't have to keep firing until they're dead.
Right.
So that's a subjective thought in my mind. I could hit you in the knee and take you
Absolutely.
down and get away. I don't got to kill you, but I can mortally wound you.
And he did with the first shot. I mean, once that bullet
Exactly.
went through his heart, he was gone in within 2 minutes or less.
Yep.
Here we go. This is where we're going to get into today, the defense witnesses. So she noticed Nate Eaton. We're going to have to put one of those strike throughs through that because the judge struck him from the list. Then we have Baija, we have Gabriel Bonilla. Baija was a friend of Tylee's, if I remember right. I had at some point in time, I had this list struck through. Oh, here we go. Here we go. This is the one I wanted to look at. So Nate Eaton with East Idaho News, he was struck. Baija was Tylee's friend. Gabe Bonilla was a bishop. Pondgrants was the landlord at Chandler at that South Four Peaks address. That's interesting. Why would she call him as a defense witness? Ashlyn was Tylee's friend. So she was set to call 2 of Tylee's friends as defense witnesses. I have no idea. And then her dad, Barry. And then
She's going to try to establish, she's been trying to establish this contentious relationship between Tylee and Charles all along. And that's all I could figure these kids would testify to, is they knew that there was something going on because Tylee told them.
Right. That would make sense. And then we have Janice, that's her mom. Summer Shizlet. Summer is the Shizlet.
So I wonder why she's not. I wonder why she's decided not to call her mom and sister.
Yeah, right. If her mom and sister still supported her, she wouldn't even need a subpoena, right?
Exactly.
And then she was going to call Brandon Boudreau, which is an interesting defense witness, considering that she's going on trial for conspiracy to commit his murder next.
That was part of Laurie's BS.
Oy vey.
She didn't have any intention to call him to the stand. She had no intention to question him at all.
So then we have the state's motion to preclude defense expert Lonnie Dworkin and precluded noticed witnesses. The state reached out to her paralegal and emailed the paralegal and asked if the defendant would set up interviews with the 11 witnesses or if they would prefer the state set them up. In a later email, the state asked if it would be better for the state to reach out to witnesses or if the state should go through defense investigator Jeff White. On March 12th, Annalena, okay, this is her paralegal, advised the state should go through the investigator in case he needed assistance with scheduling. Then the state emailed the defense investigator, and we know he sometimes has problems hitting the send button on his emails. They asked if he was able to set up interviews with her witnesses, and they provided their availability on Friday, March 21st. So this is like within a week of trial starting. Well, 10 days of jury selection. On March 12th, so that's the same day, filed a notice of defense and witnesses. The defendant notices the same previous 11 witnesses without any address or contact information Plus, she includes 2 more names of her to her potential list of witnesses. One of them, Lonnie Dworkin, is the defense expert. The defendant on March 12th provided the state with his curriculum vitae, which is his resume, basically. He is a certified computer forensic examiner. Lonnie Dworkin, the state emailed both the paralegal and advisory counsel Pamela Hicks and Robert Abernathy, requested contact information for the witnesses. So this is a big deal because just 2 days ago, the judge said to Lori, the state hasn't received any contact information for these witnesses. And originally he said, you're about out of time. And then he said, correct that, you are out of time.
Yep.
And we're about to see through the subpoena services that she's operating in the dark. Like, and I mean that with the double entendre.
That's her fault.
Yep. Advisory counsel forwarded this request to the investigator, Jeff White. Mr. White did not respond to this email request. You're the investigator on conspiracy to commit felony murder 1, and you don't respond to an email request.
And that's not
cool.
good. It's not good. Ineffective counsel bullshit. I'm telling you, I don't know what how far and how much these investigators and paralegals could assist her with. What they were in charge. They know she can't leave prison and go serve these documents herself. She can't go to the service that normally subpoena. They have a system that you go through the normal subpoena process and the normal serving process. That literally was his job. So if he's not responding to her emails and he's not getting these out on time, what the hell? I don't, defendant Lori, not accused murderer Lori. Appeals process. Charles needs a good trial. Do you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
People take it wrong if you start like pointing out things that might benefit Lori, but that's not what I mean. I'm saying it could mean bad things down the road. She's already appealing her convictions in Idaho. She's got nothing to do but sit around and fight court cases.
Right. Then on March 13th, the state emailed, so now we're down to like 2 weeks before trial. The state emailed defense investigator Jeff White and paralegal Anna Lena Ramirez and asked what specifically Mr. Lonnie Dworkin was being hired to do and the estimated date of completion. The state also requested the addresses and contact information for all noticed defense witnesses. Neither Anna nor Jeff responded to this email request. On March 14th, the state again emailed defense investigator Jeff White and paralegal Anna Lena Ramirez. And keep in mind that when we're sitting in court, those are the only 2 people that sit up at the desk, at the defense table with Lori. She doesn't have either of her advisory counsel up there with her. Those 2 actual lawyers who know how to do things in trials, who know the rules of evidence and the rules of procedure and know how to follow them and could offer her advice on that, they're sitting back at the table behind. And yes, she does consult with them from time to time, but she has her investigator and paralegal sitting up next to her at her table. It's just mind-boggling. Anyway, they emailed Jeff White and Anna Lena Ramirez requesting contact information for all the witnesses listed on Supplemental 15.2 and to provide an update on what Lonnie Dworkin was hired to review. The state still has not received any responses from either of them, White or Ramirez. The defendant is in violation of Rule 15.2. The state has requested on 4 separate occasions for the defendant to provide the addresses and or contact information for the witnesses. The defendant is in violation of Rule 15.6b. The defendant has indicated that they requested funding for Mr. Dworkin on or around January 15th, but didn't receive approval for funding until March 10th. That's true. That's accurate. So her investigator could not start helping her until March 10th, 2025, which is less than 30 days before the trial, which is a violation of the rules of evidence.
Yeah.
But you know what? You know what? She could have filed for a continuance. She could
Yes,
have
she
said,
could have.
I
And
just
yeah, there's
got that. Let's push it back a month.
yeah, there's a lot right there. Like, where was she going to go, right? Where were you going to go, Lori? Push it back a month. And why did they wait so long to approve his payment? What happened with that? I wonder.
That's probably just like the procedures. It's probably just a bunch of red tape and
I
paperwork.
understand that, but I don't know when it was filed. I don't know when she filed for it, when they filed for the assist, the pay
January
and all
15th.
that. And that's what I was
January
wondering.
15th
How
is when they
early?
filed,
Right.
and March
That's what I was
10th.
getting at.
So almost 2 months later, like almost 60 days, which if you know anything about county governments, especially a huge county like Maricopa County, that's
Okay,
probably not unusual.
I understand that, but I also understand legal cases. So when he was very first assigned to her, when she decided to become her own attorney, those kind of matters should have been dealt with up front, not waiting
Oh
till
yeah,
last
right.
minute. So shame on
That's
you,
a
Lori.
really good point. That's a really good point because she was appointed as her own counsel on December 6th, and it wasn't until a month and a week later on January 15th that they requested funding for Mr. Dworkin. So why
Well,
did she wait a month and a
yeah,
week to apply for funding for him? She should have done it immediately in
because she don't
December,
know what
right?
she's doing. Yes, if she had known what she was doing in December, she would have done that.
Right.
But apparently, she didn't read enough law books.
Right.
Why do I know more than you, Lori? Damn, girl.
Right. Maybe she should hire you.
Maybe she should. Hell.
You could probably help her write a good closing statement,
Oh, I know I
closing
could.
argument.
I know I could. I might not get a lot of fans, but I could. I can. Hey, look, I'm that girl. I can roll right now. Prosecution hard, defense hard. Which way you want to go?
Right.
I can go both ways. I love them both, honestly.
And we get to root for both in different situations. Like Karen Reed, I'm not rooting for the prosecution in Karen Reed, not at all.
I don't root for either of them, really. Any of them. I don't know what to root for over there, except justice for that dude that died, John O'Keefe.
Right. Officer
Hallelujah.
John O'Keefe. Yep.
Lord, help us all with that one. I'll be covering that one, and I still don't know if I'm scared.
Furthermore, the defendant does not comply with Rule 15C2B, which requires the defendant to provide any report by the expert. Mr. Dworkin, let's see. Assuming Mr. Dworkin has not completed a report, the defendant still has not complied with the rule. At this time, it is unclear whether Mr. Dworkin has started whatever analysis review. On March 12th, the state emailed the defendant's paralegal about Lonnie Dworkin. On March 13th, she advised that the state that it was her understanding Mr. Dworkin had not done any work yet on the case, or if he has, it's been minimal.
And what exactly was he to do anyway?
So he's looking at the extractions from Charles's phone.
She's got her own siren.
Yes. And remember, the judge asked her if you could have any one thing for Mr. Dworkin to look at, what would that be? And she said Charles's phone.
The phone, yeah.
She wants to know what's on his phone. And
Lori,
I want to know why she wants to know what's on his phone, because she and Alex took his phone back to Alex's house that afternoon, and they were taking pictures of
the phone, right? Taking pictures of the messages on the phone, on the countertop, lady. What do you mean you want to know what's on the phone? You know better than all of us do what's on that phone.
So is she looking for another Nancy Joe in there?
Yeah. I need to call this other girl up here and show my husband was
Right.
this lying, cheating sack of shit. When she can, that was the dumbest move she could have made, was to try to make that man look bad by, asking Nancy Joe, "Do you date married men?" I'd have been like, "Well, bitch, do you? Apparently you
Right.
were."
Right.
Ugh. Sorry, I don't mean to cuss on your channel, Joe. Sorry,
Yeah, all
y'all.
good. You be
Watch my
you. You be you.
I forgot I
We're
wasn't on
gonna
my channel for a minute there.
we're gonna say what we're gonna say about it, and we got a lot
Yeah,
to say about it.
you know me,
I think Trina missed an opportunity because there was one of the witnesses in there that was asked about all that Charles had multiple appointments in his calendar with multiple appointments,
uh-huh.
like back to back to back days, and they were all females. But she
Yeah.
didn't point out the fact that he was actually looking for a house and was scheduling appointments with realtors to look at houses so he could move to the area to be close to JJ.
Yeah.
So
Well,
just because there's a bunch of women on his calendar doesn't mean that he's scheduling a bunch of dates, quote unquote dates, romantic dates
oh,
with a bunch of women.
right. And even though Charles was talking to Nancy Joe and maybe one or two others, maybe he was a ladies' man. Some folks just like having a partner in their life or a date. Maybe he was just Charles was an open kind of guy. Just because you're dating people, that doesn't mean he was obviously still trying to help Lori and trying to make it right with Lori for their kids' sake in the end. You know what I mean? To
Right,
protect
right,
JJ and to
right.
have the intervention. And
Right,
regardless of who he was talking to on the side, she was doing whatever she wanted with Chad. Couples are weird. Cheaters are weird. I don't do all that.
right.
I don't
And well,
understand that cheating
the other thing
mentality
is
stuff. So
as someone who was married for 28.75-ish years, when you make that decision to move on, whatever your marital status is, you make that decision to move on. And so she was gone for what, 72 days, 74 days back at the beginning of the year. She came back and she moved in with them in Houston. And she was in Houston for a couple of months. And then she's like, all right, I can't do this. I need to move back to Arizona. This whole time, we find out yesterday that she's texting Chad through various ghost accounts. He's Melanie too on one of her
yeah, I mean,
accounts.
even before Charles knew she was suspected she was having an affair, she was never around, she abandoned him, all the things that we know she did.
Right,
So what if the man had a date or two? So
right.
what? Right?
That's
He
kind of my
wasn't the
point.
one. Yeah,
Yep,
exactly. He
he was
wasn't the
dumb.
one joined up in a cult making portals over in the corner trying to cast out people.
Yep.
He was just living a normal life.
Well, he was trying to, and he gave her every chance
Exactly,
at
trying,
redemption. He
right?
gave her every
Mhm.
chance, and she just turned away every chance. And so eventually he's like, okay, I'm done. I know she's done. She's not the Lori that I used to know. He said that
Yeah.
in a text about him. So, it's time to move on. So he goes on a dating site. He talks to Nancy Joe for a week. They just had been talking for a week, but they had
Hey,
several long phone conversations and text messages. That's fine.
yeah,
They weren't having sex. Like Nancy Joe said, they didn't go sleep together. They went and had dinner together.
they were getting to know each other and they were having a lot of long talks. And I like Nancy Joe and she looked good for her age. Sucks for her that she had to find out on the freaking news that the man she thought she had a shot with at last date was literally just gone and not just ghosting her, right? So,
Yeah.
in your face, Lori, the man did nothing wrong. Even though he was talking to Nancy Joe, it doesn't prove a thing. He didn't do anything. He was still actively trying to help Lori at the same time. So Lori can go on down the road with her. My husband was cheating on me, and so what if he was? What does that got to do with your self-defense thing? He came in loaded for bear, went to pick a fight with you because that's not what you described over an affair. You know what I mean? It was like she needs to sit down with your story, pick a theory, and stick to it.
Yeah. She was, I think she was paranoid about the intervention thing that he and Adam were planning.
Oh,
The
you know
the
she was.
yeah. So, but that actually puts doubt in my mind. So when she said things are coming to a head and this week everything will change after this week, in my mind, that has more to do with the intervention than it has to do with them planning something to unalive Charles.
I think
Like,
she went forward with the unaliving because the intervention was happening. And if
yeah,
they're
like
willing to go far,
she
if they're
became that,
willing to
like
go
she
far
became
enough,
desperate.
yeah, if they're willing to go far enough to hold an intervention on me, they're willing to go far enough to try to commit me. They got to go.
Right. And he did have her evaluated for some type of
Hmm.
mental issues before that. So she's
Yeah, he did.
scared. She's running scared.
Yeah, he already had her on the routine hold for evaluation, so that had already happened.
All right. Ms. Ramirez carbon copied. That's funny. CC'd is carbon copy, and probably most people today don't know what a carbon copy is.
Oh my God, I do.
I do too.
We used to play with that stuff. My aunt used to get it from her office and bring it to us.
When I was in elementary school, me and my best friend talked the principal into letting us do a school newspaper, and we called it the Tomahawk Times. And he gave us a limited amount of carbon paper to use in making copies of that.
And you got to press on that stuff just right, too.
Yep. Yep. Mrs. Ramirez, CC defense investigator Jeff White advised that Mr. White was the person who was in contact with Mr. Dworkin, and he did not respond to this email. Thanks, Mr. White. He is unresponsive.
There's a lot of unresponsiveness happening.
Yeah. To date, the state has received no response to the request regarding the subject matter of Mr. Alani Dworkin, nor has the state been advised of when Mr. Dworkin's work will be completed. On March 11th, the defendant advised the court that she was ready to start trial on March 31st. This is true. I was there on that day. I heard her say it in person. Defendant has repeatedly asserted her speedy trial rights. And I will tell you, on that trial, the judge said, do you want to have your speedy trial, or do you want to have your expert witness in? And she said, I want my speedy trial. And we just got a 2-week speedy trial.
She wants out of Maricopa County Jail. We heard her on Dateline. It is the worst jail in the country. It's slop every day. I already knew Maricopa County was the worst county jail in America. It's one of the largest in the country. I've watched many documentaries on Maricopa County Jail. That's how I knew that already. And I was like, oh boy, she is not going to have a good stay at Maricopa County Jail. She's in a whole new world over there from Idaho's Idaho. And welcome to the big leagues, baby girl. And you're not liking what you see. And now you're going to fight for all those poor women sitting there who didn't do anything either. Some maybe didn't, but most of them did. She wants out of there. And we don't know that she's going to stay in Arizona and go to prison. They may take her back to Idaho and let her finish out, if she ever finishes out what she's got there. These charges for Charles came before everybody else's charges. I think it's still up in the air as to whether she'll stay in Arizona and serve state prison time there immediately, or if she'll go back to Idaho to technically finish out those sentences before bringing her back to Arizona, which will never happen because she's got 3 life sentences in Idaho. Of course, she's not going to live 3 lives. In her mind, she will, but on this earth, she won't.
She may live another 22, according to her.
They'll make a deal with her, let her go finish out her life sentence over here in Idaho. When that's over, take her on over to Arizona and let her do her second life there.
Right.
She needs to make that. That is a contract you make before you ever return to Earth. So go make that contract now, Lori. That's what you plan to be in your next life, is to serve your sentence in Arizona. I know how that shit works, girlfriend.
You're going to get reincarnated from a prisoner to a prisoner.
It's up to you.
Rule 15.7a requires any party moving for sanctions for disclosure violations must include a separate statement. The state has filed a separate statement. State is requesting sanctions in the form of precluding all of the defendant's noticed witnesses and the defendant's noticed expert. So the state filed a motion that just said Lori shouldn't have anything in. And I don't know that we ever saw a ruling on this, but we kind of saw it, culminate yesterday when Lori said, I'm not presenting any evidence. The defense rests.
Yeah.
She didn't produce any witnesses or the expert.
She has no rebuttal witnesses to, there's not, what is she going to rebuttal? Whether these text messages were real, whether the metadata was real, whether the phones were recovered properly, were the bat, was it tested properly? We done been through that. The crime scene, was it investigated properly? We've been through that. She's got no witnesses to put up to dispute those facts. Other than that, you got to dispute the conspiracy fact, these messages and conversations between you and your brother, at Charles and your other brother. Who is she going to put up there to dispute all that? As far as an expert goes, I can't think of one. Character witnesses, mom and sister, where are they? Where's dad?
Right?
You were going to call you were going to call mom, daddy, and sissy, but they're nowhere to be found now.
Barry, where are you? Janice, where are you? Summer.
I wanted to see old Barry testify. I'm pretty sure I see a lot of Barry over there in Lori.
I have heard that. I have heard that multiple times from people who knew them both.
Mm-hmm. Pokemon says it's lonely being a goddess, right? Goddess Lord. Jeez.
We can't all be exalted beings or beings working on being exalted.
Goodness.
Yes, here we go. They did set a date for Brandon.
Mm-hmm.
The jury questionnaires and jury selection will be the last week and a half-ish of May. And like June 2nd, I believe, is the first day of trial for Brandon for Lori for the conspiracy to commit the murder of Brandon Boudreaux, who was in trial once, and she objected to him being there, and the judge precluded him from her witness list. So he was allowed to stay that day.
I think you're right. It is June 2nd.
Let's see. We're in the middle of, gosh, that's a month and a half away. Can't they move that up? Why can't they move that up? Like, we're going to be done at the end of next week. Move it up 2 weeks so we can be done like well before July 4th. Come on, Judge.
We haven't even learned if she's repping herself in that case or not.
Yeah, we have. Yes. Yeah.
Is she?
Yes, because back in on December 6th.
It won't be a long trial.
No. On December 6th, when she was granted permission to represent herself in this trial, she was at the same time filed a form to represent herself in that trial. So the judge granted them both at the same time on December 6th. So
Micah just became a new member.
What?
Yeah, welcome aboard, Micah.
Micah, awesome. Good to have you.
So it won't be, if she's going to rep herself for Brandon's, it won't be long. It won't be a long trial either.
No, it may be shorter than this one.
Mm-hmm. I would imagine.
Oh man, how do I do a poll? Is that on YouTube? Do I do a poll on YouTube?
Yeah, I think you got to pull it up on YouTube to do it. It won't let me do it on the Restream or StreamYard.
I don't see it. Okay, I'm just gonna ask it out loud. We don't need to have an official poll.
Yeah.
How long do we think the jury's going to deliberate? I need to do a poll.
Yeah. Go to your YouTube, pull it up.
Okay.
And hit just, I think it's the 3 dots.
3 dots.
By
Community participants. On what?
It should be there where it says start poll. Create poll, start poll, something should be, the option should be there.
There's not one there for a poll.
I'm outside on the phone. I'm not at the computer. I'd pull it up and tell you what I have to do. Because you look down there by those 3 dots, or go at the bottom where the $ and all that stuff is, and where there's a plus sign maybe.
Oh,
Right
there we go. Boom.
Yeah, check in there. Yeah.
All right, I'm creating a poll.
Okay, I'm thinking for my answer.
And I unpinned the message that was pinned up there before I did that. I probably should have done that. I was just figuring it out. All right, here we go. There we go. I made it real simple. Like under 4 hours, 4 to 8 hours, or over 8 hours.
Well, I don't guess I can see the poll in the chat from StreamYard. I'll answer. I'll put it back inside. Oh, Brooklyn's voted. They can see the poll. So what were your options again?
So 1 to 4 hours, 4 to 8, or over 8.
Oh, okay.
I did a poll. Juror number 15 gives me heartburn over deliberations. I know he's going to be wrestling for that jury foreman title.
Oh,
I should be the jury foreman. All right. Per the defendant's paralegal, the defendant requested funding for Lonnie Dworkin on January 15th and received it on March 10th. Yet, despite the fact that just the day before she had gotten funding for her expert, she still said she was ready for trial on the 11th, the day after that, for trial to begin on March 31st. So they're just saying that if she wasn't ready for trial to start, and if she wanted the expert witness testimony in, she should have filed a continuance, which is what the judge said. Trial in this matter is set to begin in 15 days. The state will not have time to interview the 11 defense witnesses and to file any subsequent appropriate motions in limine, nor will the state have time to interview the defense expert and determine if the state needs an expert to rebut whatever Mr. Dworkin will opine. For these reasons, the state requests the court preclude all 12 of the defendant's noticed witnesses for violations of Rule 15 2C. Yeah. And then a specific motion on April 12th. So that was back the middle of March. This is April 12th. So we're already this was just a couple of days ago. This was like 5 days ago. The state's third motion to preclude defendant's witnesses. The state of Arizona requests this court preclude Baija Itaiao, Gabriel Bonilla, Ashlyn Rind, Barry Cox, and Zachary Cox. To date, the state has been unable to interview 4 of those 5, except for Zachary Cox. The state has checked the ICIS, which I assume is like a database for people who have been subpoenaed. And it appears these 4 of the 5, except for Zachary Cox, have not been subpoenaed. Although the state has interviewed Zachary Cox, it shows that he has not also been subpoenaed. And the state is unaware of any relevant information that this witness would have for trial. So we heard in some of the motions outside of the presence of the jury that Lori said, and Jeff White confirmed, that Zach, who is Adam Cox's son, Adam Cox being her estranged brother who testified on the stand, Zachary Cox actually had contradictory testimony to Adam's testimony. So that might have actually been beneficial to her. So why didn't she call him?
Well, that's according to her, and I know that that is with the case, but how beneficial was it, right? When you also, you can subpoena these people, but you got to depose them. You got to do depositions, and all these things have to be done. And I don't know where she was thinking Miss Lori, I guess she just didn't realize it was not going to be as easy as she thought, and it would all go as quickly as she thought. But she made a lot of missteps, and I don't know what these people would have been able to testify to begin with. And once they did do a deposition, you may not glean anything that could help you to begin with.
Right.
So you got nothing, Miss Thing. We all know it.
All right. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 subpoenas that she actually did attempt service on. So we're going to take a look at those. And I'm going to pop up Google Earth real quick, and we'll take a look at their locations of where they were served on Google Earth. So the first one is Joseph Pongratz, and we know he was the landlord for the South Four Peaks Place house. And why she's subpoenaing him and what his relevant testimony is, we don't know. He's at 730 North 52nd Street in Phoenix, 730 North 52nd Street. So let's do this. Let's stop the PDF and let's go to Google Earth, 750 North 52nd Street. Boom. All right, here we are in Google Earth. We are going to zoom in to the South Four Peaks Place house, where it all went down on July 11th, 2019. Boom. So this is the house where everything happened. And if you look at my timeline up in the top left corner, this is the aerial from August of 2019. So this was barely a month or around a month after when the incident happened. You can see a lot of these houses have little swimming pools in the backyard. They have little grassed areas. They have a tree. But that's a pretty good sized house. That is a pretty good sized house. But then you have in the back of that, you have just like some agricultural land, maybe. Like, I don't know if that's like a hayfield. You have like some agricultural looking buildings on the south end of that property. And then you have like drives going up the middle of it. So we heard in one of the testimonies that maybe Chandler PD had somebody looking in the backyard for stuff. But imagine like a worst case scenario. So Detective Duncan testified that when they arrived on the scene, that they thought that the shooting had happened 5 minutes before. And then they later started figuring out that the timeline didn't work for that. And that probably Charles was laying dead on the floor for like 45 minutes, 45 to 47 minutes. Detective Duncan and other police officers also testified that there was not a lot of blood on the scene. There was very little visible blood pooling underneath Charles. There were no spatters, droplets, or smears anywhere in the house, including in that room where he was shot, except for on the kitchen faucet. And there was no evidence of any bloody clothes or towels or anything that looked like the scene had been cleaned up. So they're like, okay, we don't see any visible blood. We don't need to do luminol testing. But just imagine, if you will, a scenario where in that 45 to 47 minutes after Alex shoots him, and before that, imagine when he shoots him through the heart. He shot him through the heart and it went almost directly through his body. There's no blood spatter at all. Getting shot through the heart with an exit wound. Am I muted? Salty, are you
No,
listening? Okay. Just
I am
making sure.
listening. I'm listening, but I'm sorry. I did get sidetracked. I'm listening to you read it, but I was just
You're
seeing
fine. You're
something on
fine. You're
Twitter
fine.
that I just saw something that bothered me big time on Twitter. I can't help it. There
all
was
right.
a
You're fine. I
active
just wanted to make
now
sure
there's an
that I
active
wasn't.
shooter at FSU, and it's not the first time. The first time was at the library. My niece and her husband attended FSU during that time frame.
Oh no.
The shooter was taken out by a sniper who worked for the FSU police department. I know who that guy was. Now there's
Wow.
another one happening, and my kid is thinking about going to FSU in the near future. And I'm like, I just can't with this stuff sometimes. So I'm sorry. I was just reading that article and listening to you at the same
Oh,
time.
you're fine. I just wanted to
Sorry,
make sure I
guys.
wasn't talking to myself.
No, we can
No,
hear you.
that's disturbing.
You're rolling along just fine. You're
All
doing a
right.
good job.
So imagine somebody gets shot through the heart and there is no blood spatter, zero blood spatter behind him on the floor. Zero. Anywhere except for a pool of blood directly underneath him. So also imagine in that 45 to 47 minutes, Adam does try and clean up this space. Do you think he has anywhere to dump those clothes where it wasn't searched? Do you see what I see?
Yeah.
Like there's a huge open field, and down here on the north end of the field, there's a ditch with a culvert right there. That's a culvert to go over like a concrete channel. Like he doesn't have to go dump it in a neighbor's trash can. He can
No.
just either jump the fence and go put it somewhere there, or he can just maybe drop it over the fence, because they didn't search that day. They did not search anywhere outside of the property that day.
No. And he didn't have blood all over him.
No.
That little trickle down the back of the head.
Mm-hmm.
And none on the bat.
And he called Lori a little bit before 8 o'clock and a little bit after 8 o'clock.
Yeah, it was oh god, I got it wrote down on my notes over there, the exact time that phone call
It's like
occurred.
8:57 or
Yes.
7:57 and 8:06
Yeah.
or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I mean, they shouldn't have just taken their word for it immediately. This is what this is, self-defense and nothing, nothing to see here. And then started putting together everything later. I get that. But with the lack of blood and stuff, if that's true, it had to be cleaned up.
I
Or
just
if there were
cannot
you know what
imagine.
I mean? If there was drag
Yeah.
marks or, why would you even need to, if you're going to claim self-defense and you boom, a shot, he fell, leave it at that. What's the, why are we dragging this person? Why are we moving them? What's really happening here? And then if that occurred, then you would absolutely see blood trail marks and smears. But if he cleaned it all up within 45 minutes, if he used bleach, they're going to smell that bleach when they walk in the room.
Right. Absolutely.
Now, did that make them think, as cops, it should have rose a red flag? But if it didn't, that's on them. I can't help that. I don't know if they smelled anything or not. I'm just saying, I've watched enough crime scene shows, like legit real ones, not, fake ones, to know that they absolutely know when cleanups occurred if they do their due diligence. They're going to smell the chemicals. And if you spray luminol, if there's no blood to the naked eye, and if you spray your luminol, you see it everywhere. It lights up like a Christmas tree. You can see the smear marks. That's how they know when cleanups have occurred.
Let's talk about luminol for a second, for just a
Yeah.
second,
Okay.
because
Okay.
Detective Duncan was asked, why didn't you luminol test the bat? And he
Right.
said, because there wasn't any visible blood. And I'm like, you dumbass, luminol isn't for visible blood, it's for invisible blood and proteins. And then Trina K reiterated that. She's like, did you see any visible blood? No. So luminol wouldn't have been appropriate. No, you got it wrong. Luminol is when you think there might be blood, but it's not visible, then you use it. And they just assumed. He said the decision was made not to luminol test it. The decision was made.
And which only hurt Lori, because if we're to believe that Charles hit Alex with a bat and broke his skin immediately upon impact, wouldn't you expect to see a little bit of blood at least on the bat? So did that mean Lori wiped all that blood off, but now she's wanting you to luminol that bat to see that she wiped blood off? If there was no visible blood, then they didn't think at that time that bat was used to hit Charles. I don't know when they figured out I don't know when Alex told them in the process, oh, I was hit. I know it was early on that I was hit with the bat. I don't know why they didn't think about no blood being on the bat, even though he had a trickle come. Maybe when he was first hit, it didn't bleed immediately onto the bat. Like it took a second to break, and bleed. I don't know. But I don't know if it would have done much difference to luminol the bat. Luminol the floor. That's what I'm more
exactly.
curious about. I'm more
Me
curious
too.
about that floor.
Yeah, me too. Me too. But you know what?
Yeah.
It's a little bit late now.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but if they can establish, if hopefully the state laid their case out strong enough to show conspiracy to commit murder for the money. Because that's basically what they went for. It wasn't because there was affairs happening from either side. It wasn't a child custody dispute per se alone. It wasn't any of these factors. It was, I need to get rid of him. I need his money. And he thinks I'm crazy anyway, right? Because I've labeled him a demon or whatever. So I don't know.
Crafts and True Crime.
I've seen enough juries.
Maybe they stepped in blood, and that's why they went to go buy flip-flops. And Lori had, well, you say she had shoes on, but I've heard she had slides on. So those are like the shower shoes that just have one band that goes across like the front of her foot, and your toes stick out on the back. They're not like flip-flops. They're not sandals. They're
like a pair of Nike slides. But we have been told that her and Tylee ran out of the house barefooted. Is why she stopped and bought the flip-flops.
I have seen close-ups of the Walgreens video, and I haven't been able to confirm if it's accurate or not, that it does look like she may have slides on when she goes in.
Yes. But her story was she didn't stop to buy the flip-flops for the pool party later that day. They had to have shoes because the concrete was hot. Y'all heard her. Whether I don't mean I'll believe her. Believe much that woman says. That's her story, and she's sticking to it.
All right, so we're going to go to where the
who
landlord
stops to buy anything in the middle of all that, right?
I
got shoes at the house. As soon as I get back, even if I was trying to hustle my baby out of there so he didn't catch wind of what all just happened, as soon as I get rushed back to the house, I'm grabbing a pair of shoes. So I got to talk to the cops now. I mean, this lady don't make no damn sense.
Neither does her story.
No.
So this is where the landlord lives, apparently, in Phoenix, 730 North 52nd. So it looks like an apartment building. Let's go right here. It's the other side of the street. There's his apartment building. Let's go back a little up the street. Come on. Does not like it look like an especially affluent area. So unless it's like a business park, that may be like a business address for him. But this is where Lori served a subpoena on the landlord that owned that house. Okay, that's like a business building. Google Earth is all over the place on this street view. Yeah, that's definitely like a business building right here that we're looking at right in the middle of the screen. All right, so he owns probably several rentals if he's got an office building in that building. Exit street view. Let's go back to Four Peaks. And let's look at when that subpoena was attempted to be served. This affidavit says, I served the aforementioned documents on Joseph Pongratz at that address we just looked at by personally serving true copies. The description of the person actually served is following: gender, male, race, Caucasian, age 46 to 50, height, weight, hair, other. The affiant declares under penalty of perjury that I am fully qualified, blah, blah, blah. So that was one successful subpoena service. So why didn't she have him in court? Like, everybody knew where the landlord lived and what his contact information was, including the state. But the state didn't say that they interviewed Pongratz. So this was on April 8th. So this is after the trial has already started.
Yeah.
So the rules of evidence say it's got to be 30 days, right? They've got to have 30 days to get to interview this guy.
They should.
That's probably why the state's just like, you know what? We're just going to file an objection on the rules of evidence, and all these people are going to be out, and all these people are out. So it will be interesting to see how many are resubpoenaed for the Brandon Boudreaux trial. I can't imagine this one is relevant because this was a landlord on South Four Peaks. I cannot imagine.
Yeah, people like a lot of the investigators, right? Some of the ones
Right.
that ended up working both cases will be back. It worked that way over in Idaho with the 3 different trials going on down there with Lori's and Chad's and all the investigators. You know, we even had Idaho investigators fly out to Arizona to support the family because they had gotten so, and one of them, Lori really despised. She's never liked Hermosillo. That's her nemesis, right? If she could portal anybody out, it would be him. I think
he's shorter in person. He's shorter in person than you can imagine.
I've seen what's his name from the Weather Channel, Jim Cantori. Y'all live in hurricane country, so he's always roaming around, and we're all like, "Damn, dude, okay. You appear to be a lot taller on TV, but okay. Hold on to that tree, you might blow away."
All right. So we have an affidavit of service on Detective Inklin, which is odd to me because she was a witness for the state. So why would you need to call her as a defense witness? I'm not sure of the legal aspects of that. Like, can you call a state's witness as a defense witness and question them separately?
I've seen it. I mean, I don't think I don't really think that you can, because you should be able to cross-examine them, right?
Exactly. And you actually, well, maybe, okay, yes, you would want to do that then in the case where the state, so you can only cross-examine a witness on what the state has direct examined them on. So if you want to introduce other evidence that they are privy to, that's where you would call them as one of your witnesses, so you could introduce other evidence outside of what the state questioned them on. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, I got it.
Yes. Yeah.
But she didn't. She didn't call her as a
She
defense
thought better
witness.
of it. I guess her little helpers there were like, not nothing there, Lori.
Hmm. Don't open that door. She's been told that many times.
Like the judge when she wanted to further question Nancy Joe about, the conversation that you and Charles had
Mhm.
about me. And the judge is like, are you sure you want to open that door? Lori's like, nah.
Lori's like, yeah. Lori's like, I want to take a lunch break and think about it now.
Yeah, then she came back and thought better, didn't she?
She did, but it's funny because after lunch break, she only questioned her for like another 15 minutes, and we could have done
Mhm.
that before lunch break. We could have
Oh, yeah.
extended like the morning session 15 minutes. She wanted to think about opening that door a little bit longer.
Yes, she did. She's like, "I'm not sure. Am I smart enough to play this without getting in trouble, making myself look like a" yes, there ain't no telling. She had to contemplate that one for a minute and talk to Jesus about it. She did.
Oh,
She
let's
had to
see.
refer to her higher power.
Right. I'm checking chat real quick. Lion. Yes, they can recall every state witness. They can to open up new evidence. Thank you for that. That refreshed my memory. Specifically, she said they ran out of the house barefoot. I think I remember that too. I don't remember
She did
when. Yeah.
she did say it, and she said it was the morning of it was when Charles was shot. They'd already,
Hmm.
JJ was already out of the car. She sent Tylee out of the house. Tylee goes out barefooted. When Lori goes out to get into the car to take JJ on, Lori claims she went out barefooted and she had to stop to get the shoes. She's like, everybody's making a big deal about me stopping to get these flip flops. They weren't for the pool party. We needed shoes. And that's what she said. Now, whether or not she's lying, it's anybody's guess. I honestly didn't look at her feet in the video. I never thought about looking at her feet. I was listening to the bitch lie, you know. But who stops and buys flip flops? You got shoes at the house. You're heading right back to the house. So tell me another story that I might believe,
Right.
because I don't believe that one. I don't care if you got shoes on or off. I don't buy your story either way.
Yeah, low light people are pretty laid back out here, like for real. I
That
mean,
totally contradicts a post I saw on X this morning. Hey, but I get it. I'm in Florida. People hate on Florida all the time, so I don't hold it against. I don't hold that one post against you guys.
right. You guys, I'm here.
Well, you
I'm here
Arizonians,
temporarily.
is that how
Right.
you
I'm
say
here.
it? You Arizonian? Well, I'm a native. Are you one of those wherever you roam, right?
Yep. Yep. I'm a wanderer.
You're a nomad.
All right. So this was served on 250 East Chicago Street, Chandler. Let's check that out. 250 East Chicago Street, Chandler, Arizona. I bet this is the police station. What do you want to bet?
Probably.
Wow, that's a ways away from the house, too. It's a good ways away from the house. That does look like a municipal building. Let's do Google Street, like right next to it. Oh, yeah, that's a municipal building. Come on, go down the street. Don't see any signs yet. Come on. Wow. There's not much you can see from the street view. Gated entrance. Yeah. That would be the police station. Why is Google Earth not letting me zoom in?
Because it's a police station.
Oh, right. That makes sense. Yep. That would be the municipal building. So that's where Inclin was served. and didn't testify. Oh no, did I just close out of Google Earth? Damn it.
You did.
Always takes like 5 minutes. That's okay. We can go look at the next subpoena. We have another subpoena. And this is going to be at 725 East Superstition Springs. And this is going to be
Superstition Springs.
Yeah.
What a name.
This is Vasia. Vaisia. I think she said
Kylie's
Vaisia.
friend.
Yes, one of Tylee's friends. Hold on while Google Earth reboots. That was genius. Well, let's look what happens. So they, in these attempts to serve, they put down what happens if they can't serve. So whoever this is Chris Hilbart is the person who attempted service on Baija. Noise detected at unit number. No one would answer. There is a package for a Jody Miller on the front doorstep. No answer at 137 or 135. So they knock on the actual door, and if they don't get a response, then they knock on the neighbors' doors.
What the hell? They bother your neighbors?
Yep.
Well,
leasing. So he must have gone down to the leasing office. Leasing implied that the servee no longer resides there. So she attempted service for Vaija, where Vaija does not live any longer.
so she moved and Lori didn't know it.
Right. I imagine that's a good possibility for a lot of these, right?
Probably. But that's where your investigator comes in at. But then again,
Right.
when you waive your speedy trial, this is what happens.
Yeah, and when you have an investigator, I mean, I'm trying to be nice to the guy, but I just
He's a
don't think
sorry
he's all that
investigator.
bright.
No, he's a sorry investigator. He's probably just lucky to have a job right now. I hate to be mean about it, but it's just the way it is. I mean, he's investigator for Lori Vallow. How good can I mean? You know what I'm saying? Is he entry
Right.
level investigator? Is it an internship? What are we talking here?
Well, he's older, so I would say no. I would just say he's never really done anything with his career, so kind
Yeah,
of one of his backup plans is to
run
be
of the
like,
mill. Yeah,
right, the
run of the
investigator
mill.
version of a public defender. So he's
I was
working
about
for
to
the county.
say.
Yeah,
Yeah, just running around serving subpoenas, talking to witnesses, collecting information into story.
yeah,
Not doing any real investigative work.
right. And could you guys get any indication of how tall Detective Duncan is? Like, did you see him actually like stand up?
When he walked toward the witness box, I could see he
Yeah.
I kind of don't pay
He's
attention to a lot of that stuff, but he seemed to be kind of tall.
Yeah, he's a good 6'7", 6'8". Like he's
Yeah,
way taller than me. Like way
yeah,
taller than me. And Jeff
yeah.
White is shorter than me. And on the break yesterday, on the mid-afternoon break, Jeff is like sitting at the defendant's table and he's just kind of looking around and he's looking around the gallery and he and I made eye contact, which it wasn't awkward, but it's just kind of like, are you really, really bored, dude, that you're like making eye contact with people in the gallery? But then he made eye contact with Detective Duncan. And he actually got up out of his seat and he went over towards the prosecution table. And the two of them stood behind the prosecution table. And Detective Duncan like stood back from him like a good 3 to 4 feet. Like if you're having a conversation in court, most of the time you're like really close, so you don't have to have like a loud conversation. And this was not an intimate conversation. But he's just kind of like bored. He's just like making small talk with Detective Duncan and acting like, hey, we're buddies because we're both like investigators on this case type of thing. I don't think Detective Duncan was having much to do with it, but
Yeah.
he was a good foot shorter than Detective Duncan, and I thought that was funny. Like Mutt and Jeff. All right. We are back up with Google Earth. So that address for Vaisha was 7125 East Superstition Springs. So we're going to take a look at that just out of curiosity. $71.25. So I wonder how long Tylee had been friends with Vaisha, because they had only been living in this South Four Peaks place for 3 weeks, right? So how long do you have to make friends, or was this a friendship from the prior place that they lived in the East Valley? I gotta believe that it was from where they lived before. Yeah, that's a good ways away. That's a really good ways away. So that's where Vaisha lived, was over here. That looks like a little apartment building. Let's Google Earth. Yep, an apartment building right there. So that's a good ways away. I mean, that's a good 20, 25, maybe even 30-minute drive, depending on traffic. So that may be related to where they lived in the valley before they moved away, and then they moved back. Yeah, that may be a half an hour away, a half an hour's drive. Now I got to research where they lived before. All right, so the next, so we're gonna do it right this time. We're gonna stop the screen. We're not gonna exit out, and present the arrest warrants. A friend from Hawaii. That would make sense on that name. That would make sense. Hold on. Let me present this. A friend from Hawaii. Well, maybe they met in Hawaii, though, because that's kind of like a name that you might encounter in Hawaii. Or, yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if that's so much Hawaiian, but there's a good chance that they did, because they did live there for a while as well.
Right.
With Charles. So that would be somebody who knew them when they lived with Charles.
Right. Before they moved to Hawaii, before they moved to Texas, before they came back to Arizona. All right. So that was Vaisha. Now we're going to go to 7103 East Plata Avenue. East Plata Avenue. And this is for Brandon Boudreau. So this is the address that she has for Brandon Boudreau, 7103 East Plata Avenue. Google Earth, 7103 East Plata Avenue, Mesa. That's a little further away even. Looks like a bunch of row housing, single family row housing.
I wonder if he's moved.
That's a good ways away. It looks like there's a high school right here next to that subdivision at the corner. There's a track, soccer field. Yeah, that's a high school right there. Baseball fields, tennis courts. It's a high school right there. A lot of single family residential, very dense single family residential. Look at how tight those houses are packed together. Wow. So he's down here. Let's take a look at Street View. Can't imagine there's going to be any surprises there. That's not a bad looking house, but it is like really tight, like right next to your neighbor. Nice young trees right there. But I think this was the aerial view. This is the aerial view from August of 2019. So this was at the time of the incident, and this is where probably Melanice lived, if they lived at the same address at the time, or maybe she has an updated address for him. I don't know. But it's definitely fairly far away from South Four Peaks, which we're going to zoom to now. Yep, that's a good distance away. So if Melanice lived there and she had to make the commitment to go meet her and Alex for lunch at the house on Four Peaks, that would have been a decent commitment, at least a good half an hour drive, and then drive 10 minutes to the restaurant, have lunch for half an hour, 45 an hour, and then drive half an hour back. I mean, that's a good 3-hour commitment just for lunch, to have lunch with Lori and Alex. All right, let's look at that attempt to serve the arrest warrant, good grief, the subpoena. Here we go. The person that attempted to serve this said, "I could not see into the residence. Movement was not noticed inside. There was no answer at the door. There was a dog barking, and there was a Toyota with a Utah plate in the driveway." That's interesting. There was a Toyota with a Utah plate in the driveway. So we know that there's the connection to Utah and to Idaho with this part of Arizona. But we get even more connection with the Utah plate in the driveway. That was on the hearing date says April 9th. Let's see what the service attempt date was. I don't see a service attempt date. It had to have been before the 9th, right? It was the 8th, the 7th.
It would have to be. Or it should have
Right.
been.
Oh, here we go, on 4/8, right there, on April 8th. So he's attempting to serve them notice to appear the very next day. Is that, I gotta ask somebody, is that proper? Can you ask somebody to just show up the next day in court?
I think
You must
the judge
appear
even
tomorrow.
I think the judge even says something about that. No, it's not. I mean, look, not everybody can just drop everything going on in life because a piece of paper says by law you got to come do this. I mean, I get it, but last minute shouldn't be. It shouldn't be done last minute. Like, here's your subpoena. See you tomorrow. Well, sometimes you may better make that happen. You know what I mean? But on the normal, no, you get them and you know you're going, right.
Right. You get them weeks, if not 30
You
days
get them in
plus.
advance. And
Yes.
that gives you time also to get an attorney. You don't know what the hell's happening here. You just got served a subpoena. What are they fixing to ask me? What kind of deposition they want from me? All the things. You might consider needing to get an attorney. So it's proper to do it within a more time frame than that.
Yeah.
And you got to
And
get
just
time
a
to
matter of
respond,
respect.
because you can also try to squash a subpoena. So, you know what I'm saying? So Lori's whole legal process is not correct, and we know that.
Yeah. She's been called out for it multiple times.
Yeah.
All right. 2311 East Hazeltine Way. And I will let all of you guess in chat who you think this subpoena is for. 2311 East Hazeltine Way. We'll go look at it on Google Earth first. All right. 2311 East Hazeltine Way, Chandler, Arizona. This is actually in Chandler. It's not in Mesa. Let's see. It's 2, 3, 4, 5. It's only a couple miles away from the house. It's not that far away from the house. It's pretty close. It's one of these little things on the Hammerhead cul-de-sac. That's what you call those. Let's see. We can't get inside there, but we can come out here at the street view and look inside. So it's that house right there. It's actually a cool looking house. It's a 2-story. So sometimes you'll have houses in Arizona that have high roof peaks like that, but all they do is they have a big vaulted ceiling. But this looks like an actual 2-story building, or a 2-story house, 2-story residence with a 2.5 car garage. I don't think that's enough for 3 cars in there, but it is a big 2-car garage. See if, did anybody guess? Did anybody try to guess who this is for? Nope, not Summer. Not Summer. Okay, let's talk about the poll first. How long do you think the jury will deliberate? Move out of the way. 1 to 4 hours.
I vote for the first option. I can't vote in chat, but I vote for option 1.
Okay. So we have 29 votes. So you make the 30th vote. 76% think it will be 1 to 4 hours. So let's see if we go 76.76. No. 76 times 0.76. So 22 people. So you make 23 out of 30. That's 77% of people think that'll be 1 to 4 hours. 17%, so that's 1/6 of people think it will be 4 to 8 hours, and 7% think it will be 8 hours or more. So overwhelmingly, everybody thinks it'll be a quick jury verdict.
Yeah.
All right. So potty breaks, lunch, jury instruction. So, but Verdict Watch, Pokemon Verdict Watch doesn't begin until they actually go into their deliberations. Remember that? The clock starts when they're like, okay, we got jury instructions. Yeah. Boom. We're out the door and we're in our little room, like hashing it out. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about, let me get to StreamYard. I got to highlight this comment. Boom. That's a really good point. Hopefully she doesn't change her mind and testify. So
let her.
there are two different people, or there are 2 different trains of thought on this based on what we thought we heard the judge say. And I thought I heard him say that she needs to decide before they finalize jury instructions, because whether or not she testifies on her behalf will change the final jury instructions.
That's exactly what he said. It's easy to go back and review. It's live on TV.
So is that today, though? Are they finalizing jury instructions today?
They should be, yes. Or is she?
So
I think she technically
has to have decided by now, right?
If you go back and rewatch what he actually says, I think he might have actually given her till Monday, but he was not pushing for that. He wants to know by today, because it will affect his jury instructions on whether or not she testifies or not. Right. And he's ready to wrap this up. There was no mince in that man's words. I heard exactly what he said. And like I said, anybody can go back and review it at any given time. And you're right. That's exactly what he said. So I don't know why there's different opinions.
I heard a couple of people say, well, she has till Monday to decide. And I'm like, I don't think she does.
Yeah, go back and listen to exactly what he said and how he said it, and you'll see what I'm saying. You know what I mean? I can't recall word for word what the man said, but I was paying attention to that part because there's certain legal parts I pay very close attention to, because a big part of me is a legal junkie.
If Lori had you on the stand, she would say, I want you to recite the exact sentence that he said.
Hang on. Hold my beer. If I'm sitting right there, this was yesterday. I'm talking 8-hour streams, lady. Plus, I done been through some other discovery. I got more than one case. Lady, I'm a busy lawyer. Hush.
Rachel, is Nate posting today?
No, I'm not keeping up with any of the posts today. I haven't. I've been busy doing other stuff.
Joe, read Nate's posts. I think he is
What'd he
posting
say?
on what's going on today. He's probably there because he's media. So if media is allowed in and public isn't,
Yeah,
he
they're
could be.
keeping updates on what's the
All right.
process
All right. We'll
throughout
go
the
check
day.
this out when we're done with this. This is the
Yeah,
last subpoena.
they'll all post updates, the major outlets will, as to what happened and what went on, the
All right.
usual.
So I'll give you guys one more chance to figure out whose house this is. It is somebody that was close to Lori.
I know Mama's house, is it?
Not blood related. Not blood related.
Oh, Melanie Gibb.
Bingo! Ding ding ding.
Mm-hmm.
Give that woman a prize.
Always. Joking. Melanie, with your vaulted, possibly 2-story house.
All right. So let's look at this search warrant that Lori attempted to serve on her good friend Melanie Gibb at 2311 East Hazeltine Way. This guy attempted, let's see, it's Curie Gershini.
Shouldn't she be able to portal Melanie right into the county jail to visit her?
Right.
Well,
Through the toilet, maybe?
I thought them two had it going on like that, right? They could just, yeah. You get lonely, Lori. Portal Melanie on up in there, would you? Let her have some slop dinner.
All right. So this guy, Curie, attempted service twice, on the 8th at 9:30 a.m. and then again around 9 p.m. First time, no answer at the door, no activity observed, no vehicles present. I cannot see inside of the residence. No answer with the neighbor. So he went over and he knocked or rang the doorbell on the neighbor's house. That's wow. I didn't know they did that when they're serving subpoenas.
See, I'm that neighbor who doesn't answer the door, so y'all are good. But maybe they were going to say, "Hey, do you know who lives here?" That would be a red flag to me. Like, why are they nosing around my neighbor's house? Something going on I should know about.
Right.
I'd be like peeking out the window all the time then. But I'm that person. I don't open my door. If I do not know you, there's nobody home. Just like when you call my phone and I do not know you, I'm not home. Leave me a voicemail.
Right.
If it's business, they'll leave you a voicemail. If it's business at the front door, they'll leave you a card.
Yep.
I'm weird, y'all. Sorry. I just ain't got time for all that shit going on out there in the public.
I get 20 to 25 spam calls a day on my phone. And if you're not in my contacts and I don't recognize your number, you better leave me a voicemail if it's important.
Heck yeah, exactly.
We're not talking.
Exactly.
All right. 9:00 p.m., 8:58 p.m. No answer at the door. The house is dark. No vehicles present. That is odd for 9:00 p.m. Is it not?
Yeah. Well, it would be for my household, but I don't know about everybody's.
Right. Maybe she's going and playing volleyball at the stake center.
I mean, my sister's on the go a lot. There's sometimes her and her husband may not get in till that time. It depends on what all she's got going on in her day. Sometimes they get it. People get busy. It's hard to. My normal is not somebody else's normal, right? So people work late. They go to dinner late. If they go to the gym, or I don't know. There's a multitude of reasons why somebody may not be home at 9 o'clock at night.
But check this out. This was 9 days ago. This was 8 days before the end of the trial.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way, even if they served that subpoena, that she's getting in for this trial. There's no way.
Right.
And the judge said that. He said, "You're out of time."
Mm-hmm.
He said, "You're about out of time." Oh, wait, no, you are out of time. Right.
Yeah, you did. Right. Time's up, Lori. You careful what you wish for. And then she did say on Dateline they forced her into that speedy trial. But that's the same thing Ann Taylor in Idaho said as well. y'all forced
Oh
us
my
into the, you
gosh,
forced
I
us to
was
relinquish our speedy trial because of all these terabytes of data we got to go through. They brought up the damn terabytes that I was going to die. It's like, no, don't bring terabytes into this now. They brought
I
up
was
terabytes yesterday.
I was in the courtroom when in Judge Bareski's regular courtroom, the small room, and Trace was in there with me when he said to her, you could either have your witnesses in or you can have a speedy trial, but you can't have both. What do you
Yeah.
want? And she said speedy trial. Like she literally said that out loud. She's not surrendering her right to a speedy trial just to get witnesses in. So
Yes, she did. She
yeah,
certainly, she put it on record, didn't she?
yes, she did. All right. Well, that's what I got for today. It was amazing having another Morning Joe Schmoe episode. I haven't had one in so long. Lori has been like the energy vampire for 2 weeks now. So this was good. It was good hanging out with you, Salty. I appreciate you coming up.
Oh, no problem. I'm gonna probably work on my Tele5 video thingy here. It's just a compilation. I'm just putting together some materials so that I have them in one place and that I can share with you guys. And I'm still I've got a couple of Google Drives that have been sent to me where all the exhibits are there. They're on the Court TV website, but I've also got direct Google Drive links to them as well, so I can make sure I have everything. So I'm trying to put together something, and it's not going to be hard, but I just don't know if I'm going to do it tonight or tomorrow. I haven't decided yet. So,
Well, I for one am looking forward to that. I can't wait.
are you busy tonight or tomorrow or anything like that going on that pressing?
I've got a 4-day weekend, so we can
Oh,
make it work.
goodness. All right. Okay. I'll be in touch in a little while. We're supposed to have what you call that? The exterminator guy that comes out every now and again. He's supposed to come out today. He hasn't been out here in a while, and I don't. It's like part of his
What-
routine. In Florida, you have to have like a routine guy come
Yeah,
out, which
right.
I haven't seen a bug, and I'd never see bugs. I would flip out. But anyway, my son told me this morning. He's like, "Yeah, the bug guy is coming today, Mom," and I'm like, I know you tell me because I could be in my pajamas all day. Anyway, he hasn't shown up yet. So I'm like, if I go take my nap and this dude shows up, I might be a little like annoyed. So
Right.
I'm going to try it anyway. But yeah, it's
All
been
right.
nice to get caught up with you and everybody coming in. Thanks for coming in and joining us. Congratulations on the memberships for sure.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a little
You,
bit of work, but we got her done.
hey, it always is to grow the channel and get there, and continuing to grow and just that community is amazing, the way everybody handles themselves and conducts themselves and comes for
Yep.
true crime. They
Yep.
don't come for one thing or another. And the community itself, where we found out during Lori's trial just how much we all have in common with each other.
Yeah.
Chit-chatting during the breaks and things like that, that we were doing. So yeah, it's just been a really, this is my first trial covering live, so it's been a little bit of a learning curve, but it's okay.
Yep. We're getting better every day, right? And our community is lifting us up. Like
Oh
great
yeah,
community.
they do. The comments
Yeah.
and everything is just the supportiveness. And my biggest thing is I want them to realize they mean as much to me as they're telling me we do to them. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yep.
I wouldn't be up
Yep.
here if it wasn't for them. Like I could and go just talk to myself, but I do that at home all the time.
Right.
I found a few people who are willing to talk back to me, so yay. I appreciate it. All
All
right,
right.
guys.
Thanks, chat.
Well,
Thanks,
have a good
mods.
afternoon. Well, maybe we'll see you guys tonight. Look forward.
Everybody have a great rest of your day.
Bye.
Good morning. Good morning. Hope you got your cup of joe and filled up your morning with good things to know. Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for saying hi. Together we make a difference. Be sure to come back by. Good morning, good morning. Thanks for saying hi. Together we make a difference. Be sure to come back by. Good morning, hope you got your cup of joe and filled up your morning with good things to know. Good morning, thanks for saying